Thinking infinite intelligence. So today's topic is literally me expressing what it feels like to be hyper focused on source. I see my head is a bit caught. I'm trying to get that shape. So, in honest truth, when I say I'm hyper focused on source itself, to me, it's something that I don't know how to explain for a long time because it's like being possessed because everybody is interested in the mundane things, things that football, sports, soccer, skydiving, things that we take very valuable, right? As humans, not being spiritual. And I can't pretend to not understand spirit because of how I was born. My mom said when I was a baby, I was playing with myself. That she would actually think it was witchcraft because she didn't understand how in the middle of the night I'll be playing with myself, right? And just smiling and laughing and giggling. It didn't make sense to her. And that's one thing that I can't explain for the longest time because the awareness of never being alone, right, has always been within my soul. It has been a soul knowing, a consciousness that love is spirit. Before I could name it, before I had words to understand what it feels like, before I knew what ADHD is, now I can flex my gains and feel like it's starting to look like Christmas, right? But before I could see this game, right, only me could see it because of how I see the world. Like my perception of life, right, is so rooted in spirit that I can't agree to things that people would naturally, you know, comfort to, things that people would naturally agree to, right, are not things that I can swallow because a consciousness within me is restless with the knowing it carries. This has been an isolating part for the longest of time. It has been isolating because even my siblings, right, don't see it the way I see it. And amongst my siblings, it seems that only my younger brother even values how I perceive the world because of our closeness. He has been the longest in contact with me. He has been the longest interactive with me. Though it appears that I've been staying with my sis for a while, but I can't tell you that the period I've been staying with her, we have actually been close. I swear. I've been trying to get close, but there's a perception she carries of who I am to her that she doesn't want to let go of. And I can't force her to let go of that because love is free will. And because love is free will, you don't force people to express love. You take whatever they express. That is just the truth of love. So I take whatever she express, and I don't have any attachment to it being the way I want it to be. Because for a long time, I was that kind of person that was adamant on things being my way when it comes to every encounter. And in this, I saw the vanity in it. That's the same way I'm not interested in defending my name. If at all there is something that has been created, right, that is false about me, because it wouldn't change the fact that somebody else can create another thing. So it's not even worth stressing over because nothing outside me defines who I am. And it is within me that is more important to me than externally. And because of this simple understanding of myself now, being hyper focused on source started very, very small because it was something that I wrestled with, right? Because I didn't understand why it should exist. It didn't make sense to me. And I'm making this video dedicated to that understanding because people actually think I chose the way I perceive the world. There's this misconception that people can choose the way they perceive the world. I don't think we choose the way we perceive the world. I think we're born with a perception and then we are growing to understand why we have that perception. And during that process, there's a transformation of that perception expanding into more depth of why it exists. It's more like it's the whole point of our existence being alive, the perception we carry. The way I see God in everything is why I cannot say anything negative to someone. I can't see someone and say, I wish you die, or I wish you fall down, I wish you have an accident. I can't see anyone, no matter how some people would think they deserve it, right? No matter how lack of love is being expressed to me, no matter how they don't care to understand that God is everything that can exist. I can't see the world differently because somebody else doesn't see it. I can't see God less because God is everything that can exist. It is actually what gives me joy with that understanding that God is everything that can exist. Because I can now see when what should be God, right, is expressing less than its true value. Because God is love, and love is the highest level of feeling good. And Anything less than the highest level of feeling good, right, is God expressing itself less than its true value. That is something I grew to understand based on how I see the world. And because I see it differently, I can understand how others see the world because I can identify how I see the world. And because I can identify how I see differently, I've always been the bigger person in any interaction. I had to learn that in every interaction, I am interacting with God. And there was a time when I had to kneel down, right? Someone that is in their late 20s, right? Had to kneel down for someone that was not even 18 years old and apologize. And that act of apologizing took a lot from me. That moment, it was a moment when I determined my value because I could see that my value was not how I placed it. And that was the point where I knew that my value, right? The only thing that was worthy enough to be my value is love. Because love is who I am. Love is the only reason why I could exist. And this is someone that has kept pushing anything spirit away because just the thought of what it is like being on that path of you are seeing spirit and people are not seeing spirit. It felt very stupid. Like seriously, very stupid. So I can tell you that at that age, at that young age, right, growing up, I could see why expressing love is seen as stupidity because it feels like very stupid when someone is being disrespectful to you bluntly. You can literally see it, right? And what you are asked to do is to kneel down and apologize to someone that is arrogantly, bluntly rude to you. Yeah, like I saw myself and I said, what the hell? What is more important? Because this way you have to know what is important and what is valuable. So imagine someone that was less in not just size alone, no, in age, in reasoning, in everything that would make you want to give respect to them, right? That is how it appeared. And that was somebody I knelt down and begged for mercy. I didn't just knelt down, I begged for forgiveness. I was put on my knees and I begged with my sincere heart because it had to be worthy of apology. And they said they forgive me arrogantly. They bloody fooled me. Even with my apology, it wasn't as if it was an apology that was taken kindly because I was the bigger person. I was taken as a fool by the person I was apologizing to. The person I was apologizing to saw me as the biggest fool he could ever think of because he didn't understand how someone that he's far older than, or sorry, someone that is far older than him is begging him. It didn't make sense. So I literally was the biggest fool for everybody in that room at that point. It made my image, right, go down the gutter. If there was any single left of respect anybody had for me, right, it was flushed down the drains. And I was like, wow. All that happened, why? Because I knelt down, right, to beg for someone's forgiveness that was outright disrespectful. It was someone that if I had that anger in me, I would have slapped and beaten the hell out because I know who I am, right? Where I'm coming from. I was so angry that I could kill. That was what I was before, right? Before I became this kind of person I am, that like nothing can get me angry. I was so furious that I could tear down a lion with my bare hands and I wouldn't feel I did anything. That's how much strength I had in my anger. My anger could not be contained. It was literally bringing out smoke, right? And you see, I learned that just because something is small in size does not reduce the fact that all is God in creation. Nothing can be less than God. What once felt like stupidity as I grew became something that was an anchor for me, remembering that nothing can exist without God. No matter how low you think somebody is, nothing can exist without God. No matter how insignificant your brain is telling you this person is, I'll still tell you this: nothing can exist without God. At that point of me kneeling down and begging this young lad, that was the only instance I encountered them, right? Our paths never crossed after that. I wasn't begging or kneeling down because I was looking for favor. No, I had no interest in continuing that connection because I don't force people to be around me. I can never force anyone to be around me. Never, right? I'm not interested in it because at most I'm the least interested in anyone around me because I can't, I'm not God over anyone. That's why I'm the least interested in anyone around me. And because I'm not God over anyone, anybody's vibrational state is not something I can command to change because I want to change it. They have to do the work of changing their vibration. It has to be their desires to change their vibration. That is why nobody else can be your happiness apart from you. And so, because I'm fully aware that everybody is God over themselves, right? Because nothing is above God, and everybody is God in expression. Everybody is equally God. There's nothing new about everybody is equally God because God used itself to bet all that can exist, right? So, if you find yourself in a situationship where it is demanding you defend your name, it is only going to sound like it's something reasonable to do because First of all, that which is demanding you defend your name does not see God in everything that can exist. That is one. And then, to what avail, to what gain would defending your name bet when you are existing in God that sees all? Does it mean that you are trying to say that what you're existing in is not aware of your truth? I'm not trying to say that be silent because it appears that way when you see it from an angle that doesn't see the full picture. Because the truth is, every sight, every scene, every perception is valid. The perception doesn't just cover all, but it is valid as long as it stands because what you see is true. For you to see it, it has to be true. If you don't see it, it's different, right? It's true how you perceive it. It is very true, but it is not the truth. It is just true how you perceive it. That's the difference between what is true and what is perceived true. And because of that, I stopped seeing myself as something more than what it is. Like, the more I did not see myself existing without God, the more it became automatic for me to just see God in everything that can exist. It started with how I see it. And growing up, the message that kept flowing through me because of hyper focused on source was literally my teacher. It was the only training that was constant in my life because growing up, I literally have a space of feeling alone as a child, as a memory that I can tell you about because there was a gap of where, as a child, I felt that being on my own, not just being on my own, not having any backing, but the only backing I at most felt I had was my baby brother, which was small enough to do anything for me at that point because when you're a child, you feel like you need someone advanced, right, to have a say. Because the truth is, if you don't have someone advanced, it's literally like you don't have a say. And because of this, right, I saw myself struggling growing up. I can tell you that reading was something that I had to choose to take on as I want to read because nobody could teach me to read. And nobody could teach me to read because I felt alone and I did not have that giving anybody any importance because nobody felt important. I didn't feel important to anyone other than my baby brother, right? And that was how it felt like for the longest of time growing up. I'm not saying this was true, but that was my perceived truth. My perceived truth, right, was true to me because of how I perceived it. I literally had nobody, right? But in all these truths, there was a truth that kept coming to me that I kept pushing away. Why? Because I just wanted to be like a normal kid. I wanted to have friends. I wanted to, have fun. I wanted to be regular. I struggled to even do that. And growing up, it was something that you had to just fit in, because if you're not fitting in, then you literally did not exist, right? And growing up, it was like I, I needed to exist to someone. I really needed it. So I saw myself forcing myself to fit in as much as I could. Like, I'm trying to express so many words that are coming to me at the same time, and it's like I'm choosing the most worst set of words. So if I do a part two of this video, it wouldn't still cover it, because it sounds like I'm not hitting the nail on the head. Seeing God in everything is why I can express love to everything, because I see it's all God. So I'm expressing love with all my heart to God, with all my sincerity, right? I'm not trying to perform for God. When I can't go further, at least I've done what I can. That is what I know. And because I have done the sincerity of my heart, right? I'm not trying to do high service for God. I was never someone that was going to do high service for God. I was never that kind of a child. I didn't see any reason in why anyone did high service, and much more to God, right? Because I felt God can see everything, right? So the point of high service felt very stupid. It felt like mockery, because if God can see everything, your high service is just mockery. It's like you're mocking, either you're mocking yourself or you're mocking that God can see everything. I can't even explain where the mockery is coming from, or who is doing the mockery, or what is getting the mockery, right? At this point. But it felt like mockery in any sense to me, to be hypocritical. There's this me that doesn't see why I should perform one act that I can't keep up with, because the truth is the only thing I can keep up with is what keeps flowing through me. And the only reason why I can keep up with that, right, is because it continuously keeps flowing through me. If it wasn't something that was consistent, I wouldn't be able to keep up with it, seriously. And that is why being hyper focused on source itself has always been something that has been constant within me. It has been something that I literally am not even making an effort to. People would say you have to pray and fast and go to the mountain. I've not been in someone that is interested to pray and fast or go to the mountain. I've just been someone that is interested to be very true to myself and true to spirit. And love is spirit. And spirit is breath flowing through us. That is why I always wonder why it's not so simple to understand there is no separation in spirit. So when I perceive the world, that things of the mundane world is not something that entices me, is because I have lived trying to make things of the mundane world entice me for the longest time. And the more I try to, the more off I get. Like, I get more off that it feels like my soul is like, are you kidding me? Are you trying to force me to do this shit? And so it's easy for me to dance toward things of the spirit naturally. And I decided focusing on what feels good to me. And things of the spirit in time past, right, have tend to be more dominant in my life, no matter how I keep pushing them away. And so, no matter how it looks like there's something interesting to other people, I'm not even the least interested. And even if I try to fake the interest, I'll still have a space or that section where I'll find myself with myself, and I'll be not interested in that. And something else that is spirit will be my interest, because that is how I am wired. And after seeing that things that are not spiritual or spirit oriented tend to be something I'm struggling with, I stopped fighting the flow of love and just move in alignment. And ever since I've started moving in alignment, everything I see is synchronicities. And it keeps deepening because the synchronicities happen every time, every single minute, every single millisecond. I'm synchronized. Every single millisecond, I'm wondering why I'm synchronized at times if I'm not synchronized, right? Or when I'm synchronized, I'm wondering how come I'm synchronized and I can still make mistakes. Because being synchronized does not mean that you stop making mistakes or you would not have challenging days or you won't have days that you question how come I can know certain things and still have this kind of interaction. Because the truth is everything is a spiritual learning process. It has made me grow much more to learn to love and be someone that would love better. I think I have to call it my cue here because I have to off this water that keeps pouring. It happens that I'm the only one in my compound that offs the water now whenever it gets filled up. But I'm grateful for the fact that at least I can have light and have water to come online.